about them. Okay, I got the recording in progress. So Mrs. Marie Rogers, she will actually be our first presenter today. She is from Hillsborough County. She's a public school teacher. She was, and now she is the K-5 supervisor for the district. She holds a master's degree in curriculum and instruction and in business education. She has served in education for over 23 years. She's been a district mentor. She's been a district resource specialist. And we are so excited to have her here with us, serving as a partner with the task force. She is passionate about educating educators and administrators across the district. And she believes that everybody should have high quality resources for the teachers to deliver into their classrooms. She supports them to become knowledgeable, productive, and kind, creative citizens. Our next presenter will be Mrs. Erin Conklin. She's also a Duval County native, not a native, but we're from Duval County. And she has her master's degree in educational leadership. She has a deep love for social studies. If anybody ever met Erin, you will actually know how much she loved social studies and the art of history and the information that it brings to us today. She is currently the supervisor of social studies for K-12 here in Duval County. And Erin and I have worked very closely on ensuring that we receive our accreditation for exemplary status. And she has just brought so much to the district in terms of moving the work forward with our exemplary status criteria. She is certainly our go-to person, and she's going to tell you about how we've created our own textbook here in Duval County for our high school students. And she will share out how that work went about and how we collected the primary sources. And our new goal for this coming school year is to gather more primary sources for our K through 6 clusters. And so,
hey, Dr. Ms. Alva, this is Dr. Kelly. I hate to interrupt you. You're in such a good flow and everybody's ready to go. But Crystal M. Clemens, you're in the wrong session. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna have them. I'm gonna lower my hand and then I'm gonna have them bring you in. That's why I came into this session, because I knew you had to be somewhere. Thank you. Excuse me, everyone, for just breaking in like that. But we need to have Crystal in the 712 area.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Are we ready? Okay, I think that's the green light. Thank you. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and our first facilitator for this session is Mrs. Marie Rogers.
Good afternoon. I am so excited to share some of the ways that teachers in Hillsborough County are using primary sources with elementary students. Before I share that, I just want to take a moment to thank you for believing that all of our students can learn, for all of the things that you did during last year's very difficult year. And again, for being here to sharpen the saw, to learn more information so that you can improve your knowledge, improve your skills, to take that to students. I have already learned so much more today, and I hope that this bit of information that we're going to share from teachers in Hillsborough is useful for you. So one of the things that we agree upon, I think, as educators, is that our students need research skills, observation skills. Our kids need inquiry skills. They need to be able to develop their teamwork skills. They need, of course, vocabulary and reading comprehension skills, information gathering skills, critical thinking skills, communication and presenting skills, as well as the ability to recognize and analyze different points of view. Teaching with primary sources in elementary classrooms develops and supports all of these vital skills and abilities. Primary sources are a part of the past. They're with us today, though, and touching those primary sources allows us to connect with the past, with the events, and with the people of the past. Later in our session, Erin's going to share some of the ways to find primary sources, and those sources include things like photographs, artifacts like coins and tools, and all manner of written and printed documents. I'd like to start by sharing one of the primary sources that our teachers use as part of 4th grade history. And I'm going to allow you to experience the way that our teachers share this particular primary source. And I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that when I share this PowerPoint, it actually works. Let me just share my screen. And whoops. There we go. Okay, I'm hoping that you see an image, a black and white photograph. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wonderful. So what I'd like for you to do is first just look at the image. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and then I'll pose a couple of questions to guide your thinking. So the first thing that I'd like you to do is either unmute or drop it in the chat. Just what you see in this image. So observations only, not inferences. What could you actually touch in this image? And Tracy, I am unable to see the chat during this view. So if you would be kind enough to share out any comments in the chat, that would be great.
Okay, I'm on it.
Thank you.
So I have someone that says, Jennifer Cox says she sees the Cotton Club. Lynette says she sees people standing around. Old car models, cars, soda signs, mini signs.
Thank you.
Trash cans.
Nice. So let's take it one step further. Now that you have those details, what's happening in this photograph? What kind of inferences can you make about what's happening?
Socialization. The signs are gathered. People are standing and socializing, socialization. The community are out, socialization. People are meeting. It's a city street, standing in line.
Can you talk a little bit more about standing in line? The person who added that, can you talk just a little bit more about where do you see people standing in line?
And that's Mrs. Artrice, I think it was her. Artrice Shine.
Yeah, so it looks like people are standing in line in the back there. I can't see for what, the sign is not clear, but there's a line there.
Good observation. Good observation. Where and when do you think this photograph might have been taken?
Definitely in the city.
Okay.
This was in the 60s.
You're guessing the 60s. What evidence do you see that leads you to that inference?
Me?
Yes.
The vehicles
Okay.
and also the way that the people are dressed.
Okay. Nice. Why do you think this photograph was taken and by whom?
One said a historian, maybe a reporter. Lynette said maybe a reporter. Sonia said a historian. Magazine cover, a journalist. Maybe it was taken to record history. Documentary.
All right. So you've made some great observations. I'm going to share a document. Now, in the classroom setting, we would share this document with students, just pass it out and invite kids to use it as a resource in our setting. I hope, are you all able to read that well enough? So I'm going to give you about 3 minutes, or actually, if you don't mind, I'll just read it. That might speed things along. But in a classroom, we would definitely want students to read this on their own. And as we're going through, I want you to be thinking about what details does this text confirm, and how does it cause you to possibly revise your earlier thinking? Central Avenue was once a hub for African-American entertainment and entrepreneurship in Tampa. Between 1900 and 1930, the number of Black-owned businesses on and around Central Avenue rose to more than 200. By the 1930s, Central Avenue offered everything necessary for daily life for African Americans, including schools, churches, and a library. Business establishments included lodges, physicians, dentists, an attorney, grocery stores, newspapers, movie theaters, and nightclubs. These businesses were established for African Americans by African American entrepreneurs. Prior to the 1970s, communities were separated based on the color of their skin, racial segregation. So African Americans built their own business establishments. African Americans met up with friends and family to eat dinner, shop, watch movies, and enjoy live music at Black-owned businesses on Tampa's Central Avenue. During the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, the music scene thrived in the Central Avenue district. From 1930 through 1974, Tampa natives Henry and Jean Joyner owned the Cotton Club, where members of the community enjoyed legendary entertainers: Ray Charles, Cab Calloway, Ella Fitzgerald, James Brown, and many others. Tampa's Cotton Club, the Blue Room, the Apollo, and other local venues were part of the Chitlin circuit. And now that you have that information, I'm going to ask you that question again. Someone mentioned that there were people standing in a line near the back of, in the background of the photograph. So now that students have had an opportunity to read that text, what might they now be able to infer those students or those individuals were standing in line for?
To go into the Cotton Club, perhaps?
Possibly to go into the Cotton Club or any number of entertainment venues.
Mhm.
So now, where and when was this photograph taken?
To support Black businesses in those times, in the 40s or 50s.
Go in the 40s.
Okay, I'm not a car expert, but we had some car experts looking at this image, and apparently some of those vehicles are from the 40s and 50s.
But not the ones up front.
No?
No.
When are those 60s?
60s, late 60s, early 70s. And I'm old enough to know.
So all of those details, as well as the details in the text, help lead us to that information. So what information did students get, or could students glean from this process that they wouldn't from just a lecture from their teacher?
I would get that it really was a thriving area. And I taught down in that area at BC Graham, which is
Okay.
not too far from Central Avenue.
Mhm.
And it looks nothing like this now.
No, ma'am.
No, and one of our neighborhoods was Robles Park. And when I heard that about the cemetery being found under there, I am just totally amazed at that. So, but I can see that it was a very thriving area for African Americans during that time.
Absolutely. And that's something that many of our kids might not be aware of. Additionally, how does this use of primary sources support non-readers or struggling readers in the elementary school? Marcia says it brings out how people lived at the time. Mhm. Could a student who was a non-reader or a student who had limited English proficiency still engage with this image?
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. So one of the reasons we love teaching authentic history with primary sources is that it allows kids to connect visually.
Not only that, am I talking too much now?
No, ma'am.
But not only that, but it allows children to see some of the things that their grandparents, great-grandparents may have been talking about, because I know the things that in Alachua County that my grandparents told me about, that it helps me fill in some of the void. And I can just see that this, in a large city like Tampa, which is even so much larger now, that the children would be able to relate to what they are seeing in those pictures, at least relate what their parents or grandparents told them about in those pictures.
Ms. Turner, that is the perfect segue to a little video clip that I'd like to share with you. One of our amazing social studies and English language arts teachers, Marion Clara White, who is a teacher currently at Tampa Heights Elementary, shared her thoughts about this, about a lesson that involves this particular primary source. And so really now going to cross my fingers and hope that the video works as well. Just a second. Let me try that one more time.
Do I need to make you host, Marie? And will that make it better for you?
Let me try to share this. We'll see the PowerPoint work though.
Right. Justin, I'm gonna go ahead and make you, well, if I make you host, then she's trying to share her video. I'm gonna make you host, but once I make you host, you gotta come back and make me co-host, okay?
Okay.
All right. She's trying to share her video. What?
Should I be able to just click play and hit share?
Make sure you
You
click
have to
on
share your
the,
screen. You gotta share your screen. Are you sharing your, did you go in to share your screen?
Yes, ma'am. That's what I'm trying to do, but it's not, it's, oh my goodness. I'm so sorry.
no,
Oh, no problem. Do you see now? I've made you the host.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm making,
VSC Tech Team, that's me.
Yes, ma'am.
VSC Tech Team. Mhm.
I'll make you the co-host.
Okay.
Here we go.
So hopefully you should be
I
able.
have, the choices that I have are make host. I do not have a choice to make you the co-host. Can I also make you a host?
Just keep, you just share your screen. Just go ahead and share your screen. You're just in control right now.
All right. Share screen.
Share screen, and once you go into share screen, it'll ask you to optimize, to share your sound and all of that stuff, optimize for video.
Okay. And I'm still seeing my old PowerPoint.
Okay, all right. Where's the video, Marie, that you want to share?
It was sent, it's currently on my, let me close some of these other windows. Maybe that's what's causing my problem. I have too many windows. It's currently on my extended screen, if you will.
Let me also say this. Is there another speaker for this presentation as well? And maybe we
Yes,
can.
ma'am. Erin, would you like to take over,
Yes.
and then I can.
Yes, and then we'll work that out. I'm gonna give you my phone number right now. I'll put my phone number in the chat, Marie. If you mute yourself and hide yourself, and then we'll work it out, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're gonna need to make Erin the host.
I think I could share my screen.
Are you
So
able to do it?
Yeah, I'm able to
Okay.
show. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
You don't have to make me
All right.
host because I don't know how to undo it.
Okay.
I don't want to be responsible. All right. Well, welcome and thank you all for attending our session. I'm really excited about sharing what we're working on and how we locate and find primary sources and work with our schools. Like Tracy Oliver stated, we are really focusing a lot on working with our elementary schools this coming up school year and focusing on some items to incorporate into that classroom and to help all of our teachers make sure they're incorporating African and African American history. So I'm going to share my screen now. All right, so just kind of focusing on some of those, like where we go to locate our primary sources. One of the biggest things is just working with our local community. We like to use a lot of our local libraries. Our library system here has a whole archive of local primary sources. We also do a lot of work with the National Archives and pulling resources for students. And then of course our universities. I'm very excited because the University of North Florida and Edward Waters University, it's not college anymore, I keep reminding myself to say that, they have been working on creating digital collections for our students and oral histories. So that helps out a lot because sometimes when we think of primary sources, we just think of those pictures and the print or a newspaper article, but it also can be an oral history. We're hearing the story. The UNF is putting together the Viola Muse collection, and she was a historian, African-American woman. She had a hairdressing salon here in La Villa, and she went around collecting stories from former slaves and others that were in this community and kind of have their story. So our students will have access to that. As Tracy Oliver said earlier too, I did partner with a company called Xanadu, and they helped create this book, and that's the cover of the book right there, where we brought in resources, primary and secondary resources, to fit our African American Studies curriculum for our high school course. And it's great because one of the things that I told him as I was working with the historians to put this together was I said, I don't want the stuff that we can go into the Smithsonian and see. I want something that's in the basement in the bottom drawer that's been tucked in the back that nobody knows yet. I want our students to learn new history. And also it has a lot of our local history as well. This year, as I said, our students are actually going to be getting what we call lesson lift readers. It comes from Xanadu as well, and it's going to be primary sources with activities based on grade level. So they will have a primary source, such as a picture of the March on Washington. I'll go to that. And then they will have an activity where they will use a graphic organizer, just like Marie said earlier. So one of the biggest things that we did is we started having some roundtables and discussions with students on what they wanted to see, what type of primary sources, and a lot of them were our local history. The other thing we found that is when we looked at our textbooks, either there was no textbooks that had primary sources, as we know that sometimes they lack those, and then also we did come up with some issues that maybe they were not appropriate, they were too higher level for elementary school. So we had to be very careful. So as Tracy said as well, in the main session, we do have a African American Summer Writing Institute going on right now. It's our second year. It is pretty much rising 10th graders through 12th graders. And right now they are researching on local topics, and they create lesson plans for our teachers to use in the classroom. And it's a lot of fun. They're on their day 2 right now, or day 3, sorry, and they're at the library actually doing research at the moment. And librarians help them. So one of the things that we start with is making sure that we have grade appropriateness. So this was just a picture from Florida with the first colored senator and representatives for the House of Representatives. And we had to, decide which grade level would this go in. Does this fit a 3rd grade? Does it fit 5th grade? We definitely know it most likely wouldn't fit like a kindergarten or first, just because they're not understanding who are senators and representatives. So we just make sure that every time we look for grade appropriateness and then be able to include it in there and add some little reading. And this is the reading that would go with it. So that way students can see it. The other thing that I love is there's no interpretation. So it's not my interpretation of who these men are. It is stated with facts, and we are teaching them history. We like to use a lot of visuals because, as Marie was saying, we have a large ELL population as well here in Jacksonville. And using those visuals, it kind of diminishes that barrier. So all of our students can look at a picture and describe it. And then we like to make local connections. So here we have A. Philip Randolph, who was in Jacksonville, lived here, and we do have a school named after him. So a lot of our students like to be able to see that local history. We have R.L. Brown, who was a lot of our schools are named after many African Americans who played a large part in our local history and then national history as well, James Weldon Johnson. So our students really love for us to find those primary sources. And it is nice because here in Jacksonville, we do have the main library, we have the Ritz Theater, Ed Waters, UNF, that can help us put together all these wonderful materials for our students. And then this is just kind of like a fun picture where the students are actually using a visual. They're using a picture, and then they have like a little graphic organizer. And it just when you go into the classroom, the best thing, like for me, when I hear them finding new primary sources and we have it in a book or something, is the students being able to see like, oh, wow, that's not very far from my house. We did Kingsley Plantation. Our students are going there on our summer trip next week. And these, like I said, these are rising 10th graders through 12th graders. And in all of their time in Jacksonville, they have never been out to Kingsley Plantation. It's heartbreaking for me, but I'm excited that at least we're getting them that chance, and they're going to bring back primary sources to implement into elementary school for our students to be able to use. So being able to use our local connections just to add those things in. And like I said, the students love being able to just look at the pictures, look at the readings, or even the oral history. We've started oral history as well. So they hear the recordings from the past. And then I wanted to save time. So if for questions and for Marie to share the video, hopefully.
So fingers are crossed that the video is ready to be shared. So again, connecting back with what Ms. Turner said and her ability to make connections to her own local history and things that her parents and grandparents had spoken of, we're going to see, or we're going to hear from one of our amazing 4th grade teachers, Marion Clara White, about how her students are positively impacted and engaged through the use of primary sources to teach authentic history. And I am sharing my desktop. And I'm going to share that. And then I'm going to click this. And can you all see a picture of a classroom?
Yes. Make sure you optimize your sound first, Marie. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
I was asked by the social.
Are you able to hear that?
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay,
Yes.
terrific.
I was asked by the social studies department to help collaborate on a lesson about Perry Harvey Park. And it's really special because Central Avenue is about 2 streets over from our school. So the students were really interested in it because like their grandparents had talked about Central Avenue. Central Avenue leaders. In this lesson, they learned about entrepreneurs, leaders in education, civic engagement here within the Tampa community, just really popular and famous African Americans that really contributed to the Central Avenue Business District from 1900 to about 1965.
And that is Ms. White. And so, as you noticed in that video clip, she had her student, the young student who was presenting, that student was presenting their work that they had created as a result of their experience. And so, as Erin said, any questions that you might have, or reactions, or thoughts, or comments?
The students looked like they were very engaged.
Very much so. Now, sadly, the neighborhood in that picture and the street in that picture is no longer the thriving business district that it once was. That area was demolished and now sits in the shadow of I-275. After much community work and much community involvement, finally, Perry Harvey Park, as Ms. White referenced, Perry Harvey Park was built to honor the legacies of the entrepreneurs, educators, civic leaders, and entertainers of that area, of that era and area. And so that was the park that she referenced when she mentioned when she mentioned Perry Harvey Park. And there is a marker that shows where that intersection of Central Avenue actually existed. Makeda, tell me a little bit about that. You would have placed it into a Kahoot and made it a Nearpod. Was that for the work that Erin was doing, or the work that Marion White was doing?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, fantastic. So I saw that the teacher had the lesson displayed, and in my classroom, whenever I want students to really get engaged in historical topics, typically what I'd like to do is place it in a format of a game. So for example, I would have like maybe a poll, and the students can click on the computers for a poll, or even Kahoot, where they would click on choices, and after they would click on their choice, I would then share to the students exactly what happened in that particular photo or that time period. So it basically gets them, really amped up to further learn about the history of African Americans.
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, no problem.
Other thoughts or questions?
Yes, I have one. Actually, I live in St. Lucie County, and I was talking to my students about Zora Neale Hurston. Her gravesite is in our county, and I pointed out to the students this, her grave, and I kind of showed them, the pictures and things. And some of the students were very excited about it, because they never heard of her. And so after I was, explaining to them that, the school that she taught at, and giving, some more information on it, was like, what, for real? Are you sure? And I was like, yes. So, I had them to pull out their computers And I actually looked, I was like, yeah, you're telling the truth. So it's like, okay, I live here. And so I know, I'm researching, I know this history, but they were very excited about it. Is there anybody else, they was like, is there anybody else that you know? Anybody else that you know? So, I had them to do some research on their own, to find out other people's as well. And, some of them came up with some, well, okay, I know this person. I'm like, are you sure? So, I had them to do research by going back home and asking their parents or their grandparents, to bring in, and that way, we all can get involved.
Outstanding. Thank you for sharing that.
Are there any more questions or comments? Erin, are you able to share some information about how well our high school students are engaged in our textbook that we developed last year?
Oh yeah, they are very engaged in it. The teachers like to use it because, as I stated earlier, well, I don't know if I told you, but in the textbook, it's just primary sources. There might be a little bit of like background information, but it leaves out all of the interpretations or people's thoughts and opinions. So it makes it very easy for teachers to teach the items. The other thing that is really great is that teachers are actually able to compare two documents. So there's a bunch of documents in each chapter, so they can compare the two assets with each other or go back and forth. So then that way, teachers have the autonomy of using which ones fit better into that, unit that they're covering. The other thing is that they do have a, as I'm working on edition 2 at the moment, so we will have project-based learning in there to go with these primary sources. So then students will be taking those and creating their own projects with them. We have a podcast as one project, a debate as another. So it's all kinds of different items. An interactive timeline is another one that we're doing, living museum exhibit. So trying to kind of mix it up for students to be able to actually apply this. I am excited about our lesson lift readers that are coming for our elementary schools this year, because that's going to provide that early, hands-on experience with primary sources and an activity. So I'm really, really excited about those and getting those out to our schools this year.
Outstanding. And one of the really great ways to help little kids engage with those is to slide those primary source reproductions like in a page protector, and then give kids, if any of you are old enough to remember overhead projectors, those vis-a-vis wet erase markers are great ways to help kids really find the concrete that's in those images. So all of the things that you noticed to help kids, and that of course directly translates to the reading skill of finding specific details and then putting those details together with our background knowledge to make inferences. So we've just been going around collecting all of the old page protectors that we can find and vis-a-vis markers to share those with teachers. Erin, did you want to share a little bit about some of the places where you and your colleagues find those high quality primary sources?
Yeah, so a lot of them we found with the National Archives. Like, I find that website just very easy to use. You can download them, you can reproduce them quickly. And you don't have to worry about copyright infringements, even though I feel like most teachers, we've kind of bypassed that law completely. But also one of the others is the archives that we have here in Jacksonville. We have a great library. Oh, and our historical society. I'm completely forgetting about them. So we do have Dr. Alan Bliss is the director of our Jacksonville Historical Society. And anytime I need a document that I can't find or that I'm looking to implement into our curriculum, he is super nice and will help me find it. A lot, the Ritz Theater, which is in our La Villa area, they have a lot of African American history too, and they provide a lot of resources for us to use as well. So it's all about reaching out to your community and finding out what they have in there, because like somebody was saying earlier about the Zora Neale Hurston, like students don't know that there might be something in that library that's in an archive that we don't know that your librarian knows, and just waiting for school to reach out to them. Our librarians get so excited. We actually bring our students into the archives and they set primary sources out. We tell them some topics to put out and they'll put everything out on a table and let them just go through it. And me and my history stuff, I'm like, put gloves on, and but the kids love it. They are just reading through things, holding manuscripts, holding newspapers, looking at pictures. So that's a big one. But and if you don't have a library near you, the National Archives would be my number one go-to for documents.
So I dropped the archives in the chat. One of the resources that is very generous, or one of the organizations that's very generous with their resources is the Tampa Bay History Center. And just, there are so many rich resources literally right in our backyards.
Yeah. Universities, even if it's not in your city, I would reach out to them. I know where are some other ones? University of Central Florida has some different things going on. Florida Atlantic has stuff going, there's a lot of, different universities that have reached out to the different exemplary, status districts, to their contact people to ask, how can we get your schools this information? As always, talk to your district social studies person as well to find out what they're using or who they've been in contact with, because sometimes it might not be reaching you. I know, so here in Duval, and the same with Hillsborough, we have I always say 1,000,001 elementary schools, it feels like. And, so I don't get to, talk to every single one of them. So somebody might miss out on something and then they'll be like, oh, I just realized I should contact you. So reach out to that person for assistance if you're looking for something specific.
Okay, well, thank you so much to Marie and Aaron. You guys have shared with us a plethora of ideas of how we can locate primary sources and how to actually embed them into the curriculum. And once again, if anybody is interested in becoming an exemplary status district, please reach out to Sabrina. And Duval County is like a mentor for a lot of the districts. Aaron and I have spoken with several districts so far, and we are eager to help and serve you and facilitate that process. So I think it's about time for us to join the general session. Thank you for coming.
All right, snap, snap. Kudos to you ladies for doing an amazing job. Let's show them some love in the chat and let them know how we feel about the job that they did. Great job. Clap, clap. Hopefully you've gained, and I don't say hopefully, I know you've gained some powerful information. Marie, you worked that thing out and got it done. And Aaron, you just click the link and you'll go directly back into the webinar, the general session. You click the link and it's going to take you there. It may say something like end this meeting to go back, because you can't do 2 Zooms at one time, okay? You click the link, just end, and you all have an amazing afternoon. Click the link in the chat. So if you see there's a link in the chat, you just click on that link and it should take you right out. Your panelists, you will log in the same way you did before. So Tracy, you'll go back to your personal link to get back into the gallery.
Hasn't popped up yet.
No, Tarika, it's actually in the chat. You just go to your chat. Do you know how to get to the chat?
I'm looking at the chat.
All right, it's in the chat now. I'm gonna put it there again. I put it there again for you. I just popped it in the chat again. So you click on that chat button at the
See it
bottom.
now.
Okay, very good. I just popped it in again, everyone. Anyone have any issues? You can also go to your app. You can also go to the web page. There's multiple places you can go to get it. It's also in your app. You have, if you download the app or if you went to your email, whatever you did. I see many of you are still on. I'm gonna need to get out. I'm gonna have to end the meeting really soon because I have to get back out to the session. So is anyone having issues? Is that why you're still on? Anika, Kate, are you having issues? Do you not see it? Maybe you all are just not there. Can everybody that's still on unmute and kind of talk to me about what's happening? All right, I'm gonna have to end the meeting now. All right. Tasia Richards, Martha, Kate, Anika,